Hello, so I wanted to talk today a little bit about a recent experience I had with the hospitals here in Albania. So I wanted to get some checkups done, and I wasn't really sure where to start, but here in Albania there's 3 American hospitals. They're called American Hospital Number 1, American Hospital Number 2, and American Hospital Number 3. So I called the closest one to me, and that was American Hospital Number 2. I tried to explain on the phone what I was looking for, and they said they were going to take my WhatsApp number and get back to me. About maybe 10 minutes later, they texted me some options I had for getting a checkup. They gave me these 3 package options. So I want to show you the documents that they sent me with these quotes so that you can get an idea for what some medical tests here might cost. Now, I didn't translate every single thing on these documents because I'm not advertising for them. I'm just trying to give you an idea of what some of the costs are here. And that was one of our goals in moving here, was to find more affordable health care. If you take a look at these documents here, so you can see these are 3 different packages. This first one came with a blood test, fairly comprehensive, a urine test, a chest x-ray, an EKG, an ultrasound of the breast, and a psychological exam. And the cost for that was 13,000 lek, $148. The second test came with all of that: the blood test, urine test, chest x-ray, EKG, ultrasound of the breast, the psychological exam, and it also came with a pap test, ultrasound of the entire abdomen, and a few more blood tests for about 200 or maybe 214, I think is what the total was. And then the third test was about $300 and came with all the same things that the first test had, in addition to a much more comprehensive blood test. You can see here it also came with an HIV test, HCV test, some electrolyte tests, and a spirometer test. I honestly don't know what that is. A few additional thyroid tests. So I went with the second option, which was about $200, and it included a fairly comprehensive blood test, a chest x-ray, an EKG, a urine test, pap test, psychological test, and a bilateral ultrasound of the breast and an ultrasound of the entire abdomen. I opted out of some of those tests that I didn't need, but I got the EKG, the x-ray, the blood tests, the ultrasounds, and the urine tests. So I want to talk about the pros and the cons of the treatment that I received here. First of all, one of the biggest pros was that I made a call on a Tuesday and I was seen the very next morning. The second thing is that they were able to do all of the tests at once. Now, I did have to come back the following day to get the results. If I was trying to get all these tests in the United States, and I've been dealing with this for several years, I have to call my primary care doctor, wait a couple weeks to get in with him, pay close to $200 just to see him, for him to write me the referrals to go get all these tests, which a lot of them would have to be done separately. I might be able to get the blood test there, but certainly the x-ray, EKG, that I'd have to schedule separately for, at separate locations, and take off different days from work to go do all these things. And I can't even imagine what the cost would be. It would certainly be more. The initial visit to my doctor would probably be close to $200. The cost of all these tests together would be well over $1,000. I don't even know. Let alone the time it would take to get them scheduled to get in. It would take months, and then it would take, after each test, you have to wait at least a couple days to a couple weeks to get the results back. The time it took to get in, the cost of the tests were certainly pluses. I would say one of the cons was, I wouldn't say that all the equipment was state-of-the-art. The EKG machine, for example, was a little archaic looking, but it seemed to work. It seemed to do the job as far as I know. So it wasn't like an EKG that I've had in the States where they stick the little things on you with the goo. This one, it was, when you're going to jump your battery, you have those little clamps, I don't know what they're called, and you clamp them on the battery. So there's 4 of those, and they clamped them on my wrists, like one on each wrist and then one on each ankle. And then they suction cupped these little metal suction cups to my chest and ran the test. And this whole process took all of a few minutes. And again, it seemed to do the job, but it doesn't seem like it was the most state-of-the-art equipment. As far as everything else, it seemed normal. It was fine. People at the desk were all pretty much able to speak English. They were able to, I was able to get around the hospital without too much trouble. From the time that I walked in the door, there's a lady at the reception desk there that was able to speak English and tell me what floor to go to. I was on the floor that I needed to be on. They weren't, I would say the communication wasn't great. Like after I would go get one test, they would usually be like, okay, you're done here. And then I would have to like ask, well, where do I go next? What do I do? So I had to be kind of more vocal. The communication was a little disorganized. But other than that, I would say that was really the only con. It's my understanding that as a foreigner, you can get emergency care here free of charge, but you should also be traveling with some kind of insurance plan. So we certainly have an insurance plan for emergency services. We went with Genki. They cover pretty much anything, including dental emergencies. And they'll even, like, if you have an emergency situation, you have to go to the hospital, they'll pay for a family member or friend to come stay with you while you're recovering. So they're pretty comprehensive, but that's only emergency services. Now, again, they do, if you didn't have that, it's my understanding that you can be seen in the ER here free of charge. I just wanted to talk a little bit about my experience with the hospital here, give you an idea of what some of these tests might cost. If you have any questions about my experience, feel free to write them in the comments below. I'd be happy to answer them.